If not through his death, then at least through what he had done in the weeks preceding it, Saint-Loup caused greater grief than that of the Duchess. Indeed, the very day after the evening when I had seen Monsieur de Charlus, the very day that the Baron had said to Morel, "I shall take my revenge," the steps Saint-Loup had taken to find Morel had succeeded. That is to say, they had succeeded in that the general, under whose orders Morel should have been, having realized that he was a deserter, had sent out people to look for him and arrest him, and in order to apologize to Saint-Loup for the punishment someone in whom he took an interest was going to receive, he had written to Saint-Loup to warn him of the fact. Morel had no doubt that his arrest had been prompted by the rancour of Monsieur de Charlus. He remembered the words, "I shall take my revenge," thought that this was the revenge, and asked if he could disclose a few things. "Certainly," he declared, "I have deserted the army. If I've been led astray, though, is it entirely my fault?" He told stories about Monsieur de Charlus and about Monsieur d'Argencourt, with whom he had also fallen out, stories that did not affect him directly, to tell the truth, but which the two men, doubly expansive as both lovers and homosexuals, had told him. This led to the simultaneous arrest of Monsieur de Charlus and Monsieur d'Argencourt. The arrest was perhaps less distressing to the two men than the discovery of what neither of them had known, that each was the other man's rival. The inquiry also revealed that they had no end of obscure rivals, undistinguished characters picked up in the street. They were soon released, incidentally. Morel was, too, because the letter written to Saint-Loup by the general was returned with the following note, "Deceased, died on the field of honour." For the sake of the dead man, the general wanted to arrange for Morel simply to be sent to the front. There he conducted himself bravely. He emerged unscathed, and returned, once the war was over, with the cross which Monsieur de Charlus had previously solicited in vain on his behalf, and which came to him indirectly through the death of Saint-Loup. I have often thought since, as I remembered that croix de guerre which went astray at Joupien's establishment, that if Saint-Loup had survived, he could easily have got himself chosen as a député in the elections that followed the war, thanks to the scum of silliness and the rays of glory it left behind it, that period when the fact of having a missing finger nullified centuries of prejudice and enabled one to make a brilliant marriage and so enter into an aristocratic family, and the croix de guerre, even if awarded for administrative work, was enough to see one triumphantly elected to the Chamber of Deputies, and almost enough for one to join the Académie Française. The election of Saint-Loup because of his Holy Family would have prompted Monsieur Arthur Meyer to shed floods of tears and ink. He perhaps loved the people too sincerely, though, to be successful in winning its votes, for all that it would, no doubt, because of his noble lineage, have forgiven him his democratic ideas. Saint-Loup would probably have expounded these successfully to a chamber of airmen. Those heroes and a very few lofty intellects would certainly have understood him. However, thanks to the sleepiness of the Bloc National, the old political scoundrels who are always re-elected had scraped in too. Those who could not get into a chamber made up of airmen angled for the votes of the field marshals, of the President of the Republic, of the President of the Chamber, and so on, so as to become members of the Académie Française at least. They would not have approved of Saint-Loup, but they were favourably disposed to another of Joupien's regulars, the Action Libérale député, who was returned unopposed. He still wore his territorial army officer's uniform, although the war had long since come to an end. His election was joyfully